Hello, Lou Covey with Craig Marshall, and we're Craig and Lou at the Ballot Box, and we're looking at Proposition 35 today.
This is entitled the Californians Against Sexual Exploitation Act Initiative.
And that's really discriminatory. I think, what about all the Californians that are for sexual exploitation?
Don't you hate the way these are labeled?
They're awful.
Yeah, it's absurd on its face. But there's an interesting idea in here, which is to try to increase the prison terms for human traffickers. That's the main feature. They're doing a few other things that we might have a discussion about, argue about, but having seen what the prison terms and what the penalties were for human traffickers under the current law and seeing the increase here, it's difficult to oppose this on that basis. This is clearly an extremely serious crime, human trafficking. And I don't know anybody who doesn't want the people that perpetuate that to be removed from the community and suitably incarcerated. What is your thought, Lou?
Well, I'm probably going to vote for this. But there are parts of this that I really, really dislike. And I'm actually quite happy the fact that this is not a constitutional amendment, but a state statute, so it can be fixed. Number one is the requirement that all convicted sex traffickers are to register as sex offenders.
Now, I don't have any trouble with that.
Well,
but you do?
Yeah, simply because the laws regarding sex offenders are draconian. Okay, how a sex offender is described can be anything from a guy who's drunk and takes a leak at a children's playground at night.
When there are no children
present, can be identified as a sex offender.
I agree that some of the definitions used in the current sex offender laws are probably over the top and not thought all the way through. At the same time, sex traffickers should be considered sex offenders. So that's the change made here, and I have no difficulty with that. If you are doing human trafficking and forcing people into prostitution, I can't imagine much worse sex offense than that. Even if it's principally about lining your own pockets, it's no excuse of any kind for enslaving people in this way. So putting people on the list of sex offenders is fine, and then we can talk also about modifying that law to make it make a little more sense.
Yeah. The other problem that I have with this is the requirement that registered sex offenders will disclose their internet accounts. Okay, now on the surface that sounds like a good idea, but I have my feelings that this will end up being thrown out even at the state Supreme Court level as a First Amendment right. It's again going back to one of these things that these propositions are overwritten. If they just said increase the prison terms for human traffickers,
we would not be having this discussion.
Right.
We'd be done. We'd both agree and could move on. But
yeah,
as usual, the ballot props get packed full of a whole lot of things, and some of them are harder to argue for than others. This one, I'm not thrilled about it, although candidly I'm not that concerned about it either. Asking a sex offender to disclose an internet account is simply a way to make sure certain kinds of predation doesn't continue. I'm not sure how appropriate this line in the bill is, though, for human trafficking. What does this have to do with human trafficking? Are they doing a lot of their work through surfing online? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. So, on its face, I don't object to this, but at the same time, why is it here? Why is this particular feature there? I don't understand why it needs to be there.
Yeah, and that's why I have a problem with it, but as I said, I'm probably going to vote for it. So, that's Proposition 35.
Another bit of proposition imperfection. It's I think the analogy we were using earlier was it's like a beautifully constructed lamb stew. It's been simmering on this stove with this wonderful aroma and little garlic, little thyme, little basil, and little flecks of arsenic in it, just to make you unhappy you ever had it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we'll be back with Proposition 36.